like, subscribe, and comment. We really appreciate knowing what is resonating with you. And don't be afraid to make suggestions for future episodes.
Hello and welcome to the November 2025 episode of The Automation Loop, the show that brings you the inside scoop of what's going on here at NTC and the network automation industry. And no, don't adjust your headset. This is my new and improved radio voice, thanks to whatever virus has been floating around recently. But in this episode, we're going to dive into the Gartner Hype Cycle report a bit more. So we're your hosts, Tim.
And Tim. And folks, this month we're doing a bonus topic follow-up to our recent webinar on Gartner's 2025 Enterprise Networking Hype Cycle. As I was reading this report, 3 topics stood out to me: post-quantum crypto, Agentic NetOps, and AI network fabric as interesting, and we'd like to discuss them more here. Now, we didn't get to cover these in the webinar, but these 3 things were interesting enough that we wanted to give them some extra attention on this month's episode.
So yeah, Tim, let's talk about the post-quantum cryptography first. I think that's kind of an interesting topic. It's similar to postmodernism, except it's less skepticism and more of it's really the apocalypse, because this is a world where the encryption that we know and love, your private key and your public key, basically asymmetric encryption, is no longer valid. In a world with quantum computing, that type of encryption simply is pointless, right? It's completely crackable. There's no reason to even have it. So what we're looking at here is like, what happens as we move into this post quantum world? How do we encrypt things? How do we make sure that our transactions and our data is safe?
Yep. And that's right, Tim. And what the Gartner report is saying that to me was pretty shocking was by the end of the decade, they expect the current the current encryption algorithms to be deprecated, to be useless in the face of quantum computing. And that is, they kind of just say it, and that is in itself is a shocking statement. And one of the reasons I thought it'd be interesting to talk about this as well, because the scope of changes that are going to be required to make your firm quantum safe, not vulnerable to these quantum computer attacks where they can decrypt your cryptography, is huge. It's definitely going to have to be automated, and it's going to have to be automated reliably. And if we just sit here and think about that for a moment, by the end of the decade,
when they drop that very academically, and then when you actually do the math out, you're like, wait, that's less than 5 years from now, and why is this the first time I'm hearing of this?
Yeah, it's a bit shocking. So what lies ahead for us is a lot of planning, which includes a lot of planning for automation to get this done at scale, because there's no way this will be able to be done with just traditional money and muscle, throwing people at it. You've got to plan out a strategy that will have to involve automation to get this done.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? And if you think that, maybe the interpretation of that may take longer than, say the end of this decade, but no matter what, it's coming, and it's coming relatively quickly, and just the amount of sheer things that are going to have to change, from all of the VPNs that we use to our SSL encryption to banking industry. I mean, there's just so much stuff. I think they even mentioned in here the blockchains, for example. So all of our cryptocurrency is going to have to change the way we encrypt it. The upheaval is going to be massive, yep. I imagine.
Yeah, and what's interesting here is that currently the post-quantum cryptography, this year on the report shows as reaching the plateau of productivity within 5 to 10 years. 5 of those years on the longer side are outside of the window where we're deprecated with current encryption. It's something to think about. It's something to think about in leadership, in security, in automation. There's a lot to consider here when you think about a potential 5 years. We haven't even hit the trough of disillusionment yet. What is that going to look like? How long is that going to last? There's a lot to consider here. This was one of the interesting and glossed over topics, I think, in this report.
Yeah, I mean, at least I'm hoping they're being a bit, paranoid when they say this timeline, and that hopefully it is not happening this fast, where quantum computing will have the ability to crack our current encryption. Hopefully, we can extend that out a little bit longer so that we're ready. Because if if it's really happening in the next 5 years, I think we're kind of screwed.
Yeah, it's not looking great. So, get ready, get those keyboards ready to type some automation, folks.
Yeah, put some money in under your mattress, or I don't know, take everything out of the bank. I don't know, run around like the world is literally ending if
Yeah.
encryption is no longer valid in just 5 more years. Like there has to be a bit more to this story. So I'm kind of interested to see how this develops, because just the gut side of me just says like I suspect there's a bit more here than maybe what we're seeing here on the surface.
Absolutely. That could very well be the case.
Okay, so let's next talk about Agentic NetOps, which is one of the other interesting topics here in the hype cycle. When I first heard someone use the term agentic in reference to anything, the first thing I thought of was Men in Black, and then I was like, I'm pretty sure that's not what they're talking about. So always kind of, what does this mean, agentic? And it's really just a way to describe something where we have agents that are capable of doing some tasks that we're then kind of managing, if you will. At least that's my interpretation of what this concept is, as we talk about it in the concept of using it with AI. So here we're basically saying, how can we have some AI-based agents that can go do stuff for us in our network and perform some basic network operation tasks?
Yeah, and the key here really in the description that Gartner gives is autonomous. These would be autonomous agents doing things on our behalf in the network. So what would that look like? It could look like perhaps you as a human being interacting with an LLM to say, go do this task. Then under the hood, that LLM delegates that task to a specific agentic AI agent that's good at doing those tasks, that has specific tools to do those tasks. And again, the key is autonomous. So
Yeah.
this is happening autonomously in your network.
Which
This was, yeah,
when
go ahead,
you
Tim.
look at the maturity level of this, according to Gartner, is embryonic, uh, which completely makes sense because I can't imagine a single network engineer or network manager currently on this planet that is willing to let an autonomous AI agent go do stuff on our networks.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing to be watchful of as network engineers, network architects, automators is those is the jobs this could potentially displace. If you are not working on your higher level skills, your higher value skills, you are at risk here. So just a beacon here, a signal. You need to have a skill set that involves higher level skills than just updating tickets, logging into a device, running some show commands, logging that in a ticket, things like that. Though that is exactly going to be the low hanging fruit that that agentic NetOps is going to be doing for us. So you need to have a higher level skill set to add value to your firm.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine, or I remember hearing when I was an engineer, some folks that basically didn't want to level up their skills. And often they would basically say, operational task, operational work will never go away. Well, this is now where we're seeing that end is coming. Granted, there's some time. So if you're nearing the end of your career, okay, maybe you can get away with it and you can slide on into retirement. But for those of you at the beginning of your career, you really need to be thinking where you're heading because agentic NetOps is absolutely going to change the way that we operate networks.
Yeah. And this is also going to really, I think, drive, along with automation, it's going to drive the way your firm is structured, meaning automation will drive structural change within the enterprise. Agentic NetOps will have the same effect. It will change how you're structured so your enterprise can best leverage this new and exciting technology and frankly a bit terrifying technology when you look at this, because there's so many unknowns about how this might play out. It will for certain change how your firm is structured, and it will for certain cause a lot of uncertainty, and that can be a bit I don't know. I'm a bit apprehensive about it myself, but here it is. We have to prepare for it.
We are very certain that there will be uncertainty. Yes.
Yes, yes. I called it here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mark it.
Mark it down, come back
Yeah.
here in 5 years.
5 years. Yeah.
Yeah, really interesting topic. Definitely seeing where we're heading and seeing the way as we transition this idea into not just net DevOps, but AI driven net DevOps, where we're heading as generally speaking in the industry.
Yep. Absolutely. It'll be, again, curious to see how this unfolds.
Okay, so the final topic that we were going to look at today is AI network fabric, which is really the idea of that we have these massive networks that are being built for GPU clusters, and they have unique requirements that are currently only met by something like InfiniBand. And a lot of organizations don't have experience with InfiniBand or, don't want to gain that type of experience. And so they're looking for how can I do that with some Ethernet based protocol? And of course, the requirements of these kinds of networks is something that Ethernet cannot currently deliver. For example, multi-terabit requirements, as well as the ability to have no in-order packet delivery, and I think zero packet loss, if I remember correctly from the list of things here, right? So there's a lot of unique requirements that are required for these AI networks. So let's just kind of explore this idea here and think about like, what does this mean for us as an industry? Perhaps we'll see some kind of trickle-down effect, if you will, that these things that are developed for the AI networks will then start to spread beyond that, I imagine.
Yeah. So imagine if I'm an enterprise and I have some unique requirements around security, or I otherwise don't want to run my AI workloads in the cloud. I want to bring them on-prem. So in order to do that, really my option today, it looks like, is InfiniBand. But I don't have InfiniBand, a skill set. Most enterprises probably don't. So I know Ethernet. Can we make Ethernet work? The answer is maybe. And that's what this Gartner this AI network fabric item is talking about. How can we, as a enterprise that's familiar with Ethernet, can we make that work for these high demand workloads that have such tight constraints around their performance? Can we or can we not make them work?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know I'm old enough that when I was first getting into the industry, ATM was all the rage, and it was absolutely the death knell for Ethernet. We were never going to hear of Ethernet again because ATM was just so amazing. And yet Ethernet has always found a way to conquer all said problems. My expectation is we will see exactly the same thing happen again. Ethernet will rise from the dead and come back victorious yet once again. It's just the ubiquitous cockroach, if you will, of the networking protocol. You can't kill it.
Yep. Never underestimate Ethernet. It's always going to be there, always will. And one interesting thing about these fabrics, they are managed as a single logical construct. So you have your actual switches, which carry configurations, but then you have the abstraction that allows you to manage this mass of switches as a single logical construct, maybe fairly similar to how some fabrics are managed in the data center right now. So
Yeah.
one of the first company that can make this work with Ethernet is going to have a big advantage here. It will require automation, and it will require a lot of work and maybe some changes to the Ethernet standards. Maybe there's Ethernet standards specifically for AI workloads that they'll have to develop. But I am not going to underestimate Ethernet here. I think it's going to come through for the enterprises that want to run it on-prem.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, just hearing the basic requirements, the terabit capability, that doesn't seem like a huge leap. I mean, we're seeing massive improvements in the capabilities of that, every year on Ethernet. So that doesn't seem like a giant leap to me. And even when you mentioned, Tim, about like operating as a single switch, I know there's a company called Big Switch. It's literally the name of their company, which is, we make the data center network one big switch. So yeah, I mean, these ideas do exist in the Ethernet world. I think it's just kind of assembling them all together and getting them functional into a production state. So it seems entirely possible. It's kind of interesting that someone went off and created an alternative. Maybe it was just faster to get to market, or was a competitive advantage. Why InfiniBand came to exist, I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, interesting to see as this develops, where we head.
Yeah. And currently, this is just in the peak of inflated expectations. And Gartner's estimating 5 to 10 years for this to reach the plateau of productivity. So that's going to be an interesting timeline given the, what we think are the timeline for really significant AI adoption in the enterprise. There's going to be a lot of cultural barriers. There's going to be a lot of technical barriers. There's going to be a lot of expertise barriers. So maybe this is ready for prime time in like 5 to 10 years, like Gartner predicts, right along with just AI in general coming out of the trough of disillusionment and getting to the plateau of productivity. So it could be an interesting time 5 to 10 years from now with our new encryption, with our on-prem data centers running AI fabrics, and this Agentic NetOps helping us out. This is a brave new world, and this is really interesting to Gartner's report to see how they're telling us when they think it's going to get here. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, these new technologies all kind of aligning around the same time, as you said. It's a very interesting time. Our industry has always been constantly changing, but it feels like it's really, really changing over the next few years, more than it has in quite a while. Maybe back like around the ATM period, right, was the last time it changed this rapidly, this quickly. Kind of we're on the precipice of a similar change, I think, coming up. So it's definitely time to stay fresh, keep your tools and skills sharpened, because we're going to be learning a lot of new things, I think.
Yep. Hold on to your hats, folks. Folks, that's a wrap for this month's episode of The Automation Loop.
And as always, we'd love to hear your thoughts about network automation related topics and challenges. Drop us a comment, share your insights, or reach out in the NTC community forums. Until next time, keep automating, keep iterating, and stay curious.